The biggest problems rarely arrive all at once. We usually see them early as small gaps, weak signals, or missed chances. The difference is that proactive people don't wait for those gaps to become urgent. They act while the signal is still small. For example, when they notice a loose button on a shirt, they sew it back on immediately, instead of waiting until it falls off completely. That same pattern unfortunately doesn't repeat with most of the people in quality work. A defect appears again and again, and the team can see the signal early. But instead of fixing the process that's creating it, they add another inspection step to catch it before it leaves the line. That's containment, not improvement. It may reduce the immediate risk, but the system stays the same and the defect keeps being born. So why do smart, capable people choose that safer path instead of changing the process? And that choice makes emotional sense. Comfort feels safer because it protects us from risk, conflict, and the possibility of getting it wrong. Change asks us to leave the familiar, take responsibility, and move before we know exactly how things will turn out. That's why people resist it, even when they know the current way isn't good enough. It's an old pattern, and one of the clearest metaphors for it comes from a story about 3 people who stepped out of the cave. That pattern is captured in an old story. 3 people from a tribe living deep inside a dark cave chose to move into the unknown. They pushed through heat, cold, thorns, fear, and uncertainty, and they kept going until they found the light. Then they returned to tell the tribe what they had seen. But when they came back and described light, color, and a world beyond the cave, the tribe rejected them. To people invested in the old way, new thinking doesn't look inspiring at first. It looks risky, disruptive, even dangerous. When comfort has become normal, anyone who sees farther can seem like the problem. That's the point of the story. Progress begins when a few people keep moving, even after resistance tells them to stop. They go back through the difficulty, learn what others haven't seen yet, and make a better path possible for everyone else. The workplace version of that looks less dramatic than a cave, but the pattern is exactly the same. You can see that same cave pattern in the move done by most of the world, from end-of-line sorting to sampling inspection and statistical process control at the operation itself. The real challenge wasn't the math, it was mindset, it was culture. People had to stop treating weak signals as background noise and start seeing them as a reason to act early. And one simple intervention helped make that shift possible. That's why the story of buying food items mattered. It wasn't just a nice anecdote. It gave employees and vendors a simple mental model they could feel. Just like you sample before buying fruit, you check the process before the defect becomes a surprise. The point was to shift sampling from a procedure people followed into a mindset people used. And once that idea landed, it sparked discussion, reflection, and debate across the team. That conversation changed something important. The video, the examples, and the reflection gave people permission to question what they had been quietly accepting. Signals that used to be ignored started getting noticed. Issues that used to stay private started getting discussed. And instead of waiting for problems to grow, people began acting while they were still small. That's when the measurable results started to show up. And the payoff showed up in the work itself. When people started noticing early, speaking up sooner, and acting on weak signals, throughput improved, quality got stronger, and the plant earned recognition as one of the best quality assurance cultures in manufacturing. That's what initiative can create. But sometimes ownership means something more. It means knowing when to raise your hand and escalate before the risk gets bigger. That same proactive mindset applies to escalation too. Escalating early isn't a sign of weakness, and it isn't a separate topic from ownership. It's part of ownership. When you need support, resources, or a decision to keep the work moving, raising the issue early is the responsible move. And in day-to-day work, that can look very practical. Sometimes escalation is as simple as a quick phone call to flag a risk, an email that surfaces a dependency, a WhatsApp message that gets a fast decision, or a face-to-face conversation that clears up confusion before work stalls. These are small actions, but they keep the gap from widening. The contrast is what happens when we wait. But timing changes the meaning. When you escalate early, you're protecting the outcome. When you wait until the deadline is close, it stops being proactive escalation and starts looking like last-minute upward delegation. Now someone else has to absorb the pressure and rescue the result on your timeline. And escalation can go wrong in another way too. It can be used to shift blame instead of solve the problem. That's when escalation turns into blame. If you send the issue upward before you've even spoken with the other team or tried to move it forward yourself, you're not taking responsibility. You're creating distance from the problem, And once that happens, people stop solving and start protecting themselves. Real escalation looks different. You bring the facts, the context, what you've already tried, and a clear picture of where you're stuck. You're not handing the problem away. You're asking others to help solve it with you. That shared intent is what makes escalation productive. And you can see it in a few very practical habits. If you can see a target slipping, say it as soon as you know, and come with a few ways forward. That gives people time to choose, support, or adjust. It turns a surprise into a problem the team can still manage. The same principle applies when two priorities collide. When two urgent tasks hit at the same time, early escalation protects performance. Instead of guessing, overcommitting, or letting both suffer, you bring leaders in quickly so priorities can be reset while there's still room to respond. And sometimes, the most proactive move is even simpler. It's asking for help before the strain becomes visible to everyone else. And when you know you'll need help, ask while there's still time to recover. That's not dependence. That's proactive strength. It shows awareness, judgment, and commitment to the result. When people work that way consistently, leaders and teams have an important role to play too. Leaders shape whether these behaviors survive or disappear. They create trust by making it safe to speak up early, clarity by setting expectations people can actually follow, and support by responding in ways that help people solve instead of hide. When leaders reinforce ownership like that, teams are far more likely to act early and escalate well. And over time, that becomes culture. That's what great team culture looks like. People speak up early, solve what they can, and escalate what they should not carry alone. Problems are surfaced while they're still manageable. Support shows up before performance breaks down, and ownership is shared instead of avoided. That's the standard the whole escalation section has been building toward. And it leads directly to one final challenge for all of us. The gap you notice first is usually the easiest one to change. So spot it early. Resist the comfort of leaving it alone. Take the first step while it is still small, escalate wisely when you need support, and keep improving so the same signal does not return tomorrow. Because progress belongs to the people who move before the problem forces them to. Don't train your eyes just to see problems. Train your mind to analyze the context. Train your hands to act. Every observation is an opportunity to strengthen your organization. The difference between an average organization and a world-class one is rarely intelligence. It's the willingness to stop walking past opportunities and turn every observation into lasting improvement.